Tennis is a reactive sport, and understanding why this is the case and how you can implement this information into your own game might be one of the biggest mindset changes to your game. And let's not confuse your tactics in a tennis match with being proactive or reactive. These are separate things. A tactic is an action carefully planned to achieve a specific end. And being proactive or reactive on a tennis court is different than a tennis tactic. It basically refers to how you're going to play the incoming ball. So being proactive would mean that you're going to make something happen before your opponent has struck the ball. And being reactive means the opposite. You are going to wait for the ball to be struck and then make your move accordingly. And playing proactive tennis is seen by most players as something positive. It is often compared to playing aggressive tennis or taking your tennis into your own hands and not leaving it up to your opponent. On the other hand, playing reactive tennis has a very negative connotation, and it's seen by most players as something bad. Most people think that if a player is playing reactively, they're playing defense and they're letting their opponent dominate them. And it's going to surprise you to hear that all high-level tennis players play reactively. In other words, they are not predicting where the ball is going to go prior to their opponent striking it. They are simply waiting for the ball to be struck on the other side of the net, and then they make their moves accordingly. The next time you watch a professional match on TV, pay attention to how the players are reacting to the incoming ball. So pick the player that's closest to you and then just pay attention when that player is moving. It is always after the ball has been struck from the other side. There will be some circumstances where players will make a move prior to their opponent making contact with the ball, and these are extreme cases, such as, for example, a very weak lob that's coming from your side and now your opponent has an overhead. Of course, you will not be able to react to the overhead. It's going to come too fast and you might have to pick a side. Or if you come to the net with a very weak approach shot and your opponent has a really easy passing shot, you might have to pick a side. Or let's say on the professional tour, if someone is returning an Ivo Karlovic or a John Isner serve, they might sometimes need to guess where the ball is going. So in extreme circumstances, it's okay to play proactive tennis, and this can also be the case on the other side of the net. So let's say you're playing very aggressive tennis and your opponent is being stretched out wide, barely getting to the ball. So this is an obvious situation, and it is very low risk to start sneaking in and coming forward before your opponent has made contact with the ball, because they have very little chance to hit an aggressive shot. But in the vast majority of cases, and this is true for all high-level players, 99% of the time, players are reacting to the incoming ball. In other words, they are waiting for it to be struck before they make their move. And here's the reason why they're doing this. Now, if you do it the other way around, let's say you start, for example, reading the opponent's swing path, or maybe trying to read their body actions and trying to predict what's going to happen, you have a big chance to get it wrong. So it's not a very efficient way to play tennis. You have to remember, there's a lot of time in tennis. There's a lot of time that goes by from the moment where the opponent hits the ball and by the time the ball gets to you. So it's absolutely unnecessary to take that type of risk. So what players do instead is they carefully observe the ball once it has been struck by their opponent. Now there's plenty of time to set the ball up, and this is a far more efficient way to play tennis. How about coming to the net? Well, it's going to surprise you that even when you come to the net, you should wait for your opponent to strike the ball and then make a move either towards the left or the right, or even you could be moving forward or backward. So you are going to be reacting to the other side of the court. And this is exactly how the best volleyers in the history of the game play their points at the net. Players such as Pat Rafter, Stefan Edberg, Roger Federer, or Martina Navratilova would simply in a ready position, wait for the opponent to strike the ball to make their move accordingly. And just like it would be the case on the baseline, if they were predicting where the other person is going to go, they would have a great chance to get it wrong. So at least a 50% chance to get it wrong if they were guessing where the ball is going to go before it's been struck. So by simply waiting for the ball to be struck, they have a far greater chance to get to the volley. And you as a recreational player can benefit tremendously from this information, because you are probably trying to guess your opponent's swing path, to guess your opponent's body actions, and you absolutely do not need to do that. See, playing proactive tennis at the recreational level makes even less sense than at the pro level, because at the recreational level, your opponents often do not have control over their shots. So while they might have a certain intention, let's say they're planning to hit the ball down the line, that ball might end up going down the middle of the court or cross court. They do not always have control over their own shots. So at the recreational level, if you try to predict what's going to happen to the ball before it has been struck, you have almost zero chance to get it right. Number one, your opponent might have a certain intention, but whether they can execute it, that's another story. Your opponent might be attempting, for example, a slice backhand. They can easily turn into a bunch of different things. It can turn into a drop shot, it can turn into a lob, it can turn into a high sitter that's just floating around the mid-court. And the reason why this is the case, that at the recreational level there are often technical deficiencies, and no matter what a stroke looks like, these technical deficiencies make the stroke very unpredictable. So it makes absolutely zero sense to try to predict what's going to happen at the rec level. Simply observe the incoming ball after it has been struck. So the next time you step on a match court, your mind is going to be free of a lot of things. First of all, you're not going to be paying that much attention to your opponent anymore. You're going to be focusing more on your own game. And all that effort that it was taking you to trying to read your opponent and try to study their game and try to predict what's going to happen with their strokes, you can now put that aside and you start playing tennis in real time. And playing in real time is absolutely the most efficient way to play tennis. So guys, stop predicting the future. Play like the pros play. Simply observe the incoming ball once it has come off your opponent's racket. And once that ball is traveling to your side, now you have plenty of time to set up your next stroke accordingly.